Most people settle. They settle for average. They settle for good enough. They settle for a paycheck that just covers the bills, a relationship that doesn't light them up, a body that doesn't reflect their true strength, and a life that feels like it's on repeat. And the worst part is, they convince themselves that this is all they can have. But I'm here to tell you something that can shift your entire reality. You can have it all if you just try. I don't mean try, the way most people use the word. I don't mean giving half your energy, testing the waters, or dipping your toe into the shallow end of life. I mean giving yourself fully, leaning all the way in, committing with everything you've got. Because when you truly try, when you show up with intensity, with hunger, with a burning desire to create something extraordinary, you tap into a power inside of you that has always been there, waiting. You've been conditioned to think that having it all is impossible. Society tells you that you can't have wealth and happiness, success and fulfillment, passion and peace. You're told to choose one, compromise on the rest, and be grateful for what you get. But that's a lie. The truth is, the only limits you have are the ones you accept. The only ceiling on your life is the one you build for yourself. And the moment you decide, really decide, that you won't settle for less than you deserve, that's the moment the game changes. Now let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped holding back, if you stopped playing small, if you stopped telling yourself the story that you're not ready, not worthy, not capable? Because here's the reality. You already have everything you need inside you. The courage, the creativity, the resilience, the resourcefulness, the determination. It's all there. But most people never activate it because they never try with their whole heart. Trying means showing up when you don't feel like it. Trying means staying in the fight when the world tells you to quit. Trying means going the extra mile when everyone else goes home. Trying means being obsessed with your vision, so obsessed that nothing, not rejection, not failure, not fear, can stop you. Because every obstacle you face isn't a wall, it's a test. And that test is asking you one question: how bad do you want it? The people who live extraordinary lives aren't the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to settle. They're the ones who take action when others make excuses. They're the ones who fall down and get back up again and again, because they know that success doesn't go to the most gifted. It goes to the most relentless. So when I say you can have it all, I mean you can have the wealth, the health, the love, the freedom, the joy. Everything you dream about, if you're willing to pay the price, and the price isn't money. The price is effort, the price is persistence, the price is courage, the price is trying every single day until what you imagine becomes what you live. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need to have it all figured out. All you need is the willingness to step forward to try, and to trust that if you give your all, life will give back more than you ever imagined. The universe rewards action. Life rewards hunger. Destiny rewards those who try when others give up. So here's the challenge. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop living life with the brakes on. The life you want. The body you want. The relationship you want. The freedom you want. It's out there waiting for you. But it won't come to the person who sits back and hopes. It won't come to the person who tries a little and quits. It will only come to the one who dares to give everything, to lean in, to push, to fight, to never stop trying. Because in the end, the truth is simple. You can have it all if you just try. Most people go through life accepting far less than what they truly desire, not because they lack the ability, but because they've been conditioned to believe that wanting more is unrealistic. From a young age, we're told to be practical, to be reasonable, to keep our dreams within limits that others consider possible, and over time, those voices become our own. We stop asking for the things we once dreamed about, we stop reaching for the heights we once believed were ours, and we convince ourselves that good enough is the best we'll ever have. But the reality is that the only limits that exist are the ones we choose to accept, the ceilings we create in our own minds, and the boundaries we allow to define our lives. When someone settles, they're not settling because the world has denied them opportunity. They're settling because they've already decided in their mind that more isn't available to them. Think about it. Every person you admire, every individual who has achieved greatness, every story that inspired you comes from someone who refused to settle. They didn't buy into the narrative that having it all was impossible. They challenged it, they broke it, they rewrote it. And because they refused to accept the limits imposed on them by family, friends, society, or even their own fears, they opened the door to possibilities that most people will never experience. The truth is, nothing in life is truly impossible until you decide it is. The moment you tell yourself you can't have something, you shut down the part of your brain that would have found a way to create it. On the other hand, the moment you declare that you can have more, that you deserve more, that you are willing to pursue more, something shifts inside you. You awaken the hunger, the creativity, the resourcefulness that was always there. Waiting for permission to come alive. The danger of settling is that it doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, gradually, in small compromises. You wanted a life filled with passion, but you settle for comfort. You wanted a body filled with energy and vitality, but you settle for average health. You wanted financial freedom, but you settle for just getting by. You wanted deep, meaningful relationships, but you settle for what's convenient. Each time you accept less than you desire, you reinforce the belief that more is out of reach. Over time, that belief becomes your reality. You build walls around your potential and live within the confines of those walls, never realizing that the door was always open, waiting for you to step through. The tragedy isn't that people can't have more, it's that they stop believing they can, and that belief becomes a prison. The power lies in choice. Every single day you are choosing what kind of life you're going to live. You choose whether to accept limits or break them. You choose whether to believe in scarcity or abundance. You choose whether to settle or to rise. The world won't stop you from having it all. It doesn't have that power. The only thing that can stop you is your decision to accept less than you're capable of creating. And that decision is disguised in excuses. It sounds like I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. But every single one of those excuses is a reflection of a limit you've accepted, not a limit that truly exists. The moment you refuse to accept those excuses as truth, you begin to see that there is always a way forward, always a path, always another level available to you. Most people think having it all means sacrificing one area of life for another, but that's just another limit society sells to keep people small. You can have wealth and fulfillment. You can have success and peace. You can have ambition and gratitude. These things are not opposites. They can exist together if you refuse to accept the belief that you must choose. The mind loves to create false dichotomies because it makes it easier to rationalize why you're not living the life you desire. But the people who live fully, who have it all, are the ones who break through that lie. They realize that balance isn't about compromise. It's about alignment. It's about creating a vision for your life where every area is elevated, not just one. And that's only possible when you stop settling for the story that says you can't have it all. Every day you're confronted with two choices. The choice to step into your potential, or the choice to remain confined by your limitations. Most people unconsciously choose the latter because it feels safe, predictable, and familiar. But safety doesn't lead to greatness. Familiarity doesn't create breakthroughs. Predictability doesn't light your soul on fire. The life you want, the life where you truly have it all, exists just beyond the limits you've accepted. It's not about whether you're capable. It's about whether you're willing to challenge the beliefs that have kept you small. The difference between those who settle and those who rise is not intelligence, luck, or talent. It's simply the willingness to reject the idea that limits are real. When you realize that the boundaries you've lived with were never actually there, you step into a new reality where everything is possible, where nothing is too far, and where you finally see that the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is the decision to stop settling for less than you deserve. When most people say they'll try, what they really mean is they'll test the waters, give just enough effort to feel like they're doing something, but not enough to risk failure. They dip one foot in, but they keep the other firmly planted on the shore, ready to retreat the moment things get uncomfortable. That kind of trying doesn't change anything. It doesn't transform your life. It doesn't create breakthroughs, and it doesn't build the future you dream about. Real trying isn't about half effort. It's about full commitment, total immersion, and a relentless hunger that refuses to let go until the result is achieved. To truly try means you've burned the boats, you've cut off every escape, and you've decided that you'll either find a way or make one. It's not a casual attempt. It's a declaration of who you are and what you're willing to give to the life you want. Think about the moments in your life when you actually gave everything. When you weren't holding back, when you weren't concerned about what others thought, when you weren't protecting yourself from the fear of failure. Those are the moments when you felt alive, powerful, unstoppable. That's what real trying feels like. It's an all-in state where you stop negotiating with yourself, where you silence the voice that says, take it easy, or maybe tomorrow, or don't push too hard. Because deep down you know tomorrow is not guaranteed, and the only way to create the life you want is to pour yourself into today with everything you have. When you try with full intensity, you activate resources inside you that would have otherwise stayed dormant. You discover levels of creativity, strength, and resilience you didn't even know existed because they only show up when you demand everything of yourself, the danger of half. Trying is that it gives you the illusion of effort without the reward of results. You tell yourself you're working, but deep down you know you're holding back. You're busy but not effective. You're active but not committed. And then you wonder why nothing changes, why you're still stuck in the same patterns, the same struggles, the same outcomes. It's because the universe doesn't respond to lukewarm effort. Life rewards the person who goes all in, who refuses to settle for mediocre energy, who shows up with passion even when no one is watching. That's the difference between trying and really trying. One keeps you where you are. The other propels you into the life you were meant to live. When you give everything, failure stops being something to fear. It becomes part of the process, a stepping stone, a teacher. People who give half effort fear failure because it exposes the truth. They weren't really committed. But when you know you've given your all, there's no shame in falling short, because you're already operating at a level most people never reach. And ironically, it's that full commitment that makes true failure impossible. Even if you don't get the exact outcome you wanted in the moment, you're still growing, still evolving, still moving forward. That's the paradox of real trying. The very act of giving your all ensures that you win in some way. No matter what, full commitment also changes how you see obstacles. To someone half invested, every challenge feels like a reason to quit, a confirmation that it wasn't meant to be. But to someone who's all in, every obstacle becomes fuel. Setbacks become proof of how badly you want it. Resistance becomes the very thing that makes you stronger. When you try with your whole heart, you stop asking whether it's possible. You start asking how to make it possible. And that shift in mindset changes everything, because suddenly nothing feels out of reach. There's always another strategy, another angle, another action you can take. You refuse to be stopped because stopping is no longer an option. Trying is no longer about testing. It's about creating. The truth is, extraordinary results don't come from talent alone. They come from obsession. They come from hunger. They come from people who refuse to treat their goals like hobbies. You can't expect an extraordinary life from ordinary effort. You can't expect fulfillment when you're only half engaged. You can't expect to achieve what others dream of if you're not willing to give what others won't. The price is total commitment, and most people aren't willing to pay it. That's why the few who are willing, the ones who go all in, end up living lives that others admire from a distance. They're not luckier, they're not more gifted, they're just more committed. They're willing to try in a way most people never will. Real trying is about intensity, but it's also about consistency. Anyone can get excited for a day, a week, even a month. But trying in the truest sense means showing up day after day, long after the initial spark has faded. It means acting when you don't feel motivated, pushing when you don't feel strong, persisting when you don't feel like it. That's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's not about doing it when it's easy. It's about doing it until it becomes who you are. True trying isn't a temporary effort. It's a way of living, a decision to bring your whole self into everything you do, every single time, no matter what. Every obstacle that shows up in your life carries a hidden message, and that message is always the same. How bad do you want it? Challenges aren't there to block you, they're there to measure your commitment. Most people see resistance and they take it as a sign to stop, to retreat, to tell themselves that maybe this dream wasn't meant for them. But the truth is that the size of the obstacle is directly connected to the size of the outcome waiting on the other side. Every setback, every rejection, every closed door is an invitation to prove to yourself and to life that you're serious about what you say you want. If it were easy, everyone would have it. If it required no resistance, everyone would succeed. Obstacles exist because they separate the people who kind of want it from the people who absolutely must have it. Think back to a time when you faced something that seemed impossible. At first glance, it probably felt like the end of the road, like there was no way forward. But if you pushed through, if you found another angle, if you refused to back down, you discovered that the obstacle was never as big as it seemed. What was really happening is that life was testing your resolve, asking you to level up, to grow into the kind of person who could handle the very thing you were asking for. Goals aren't handed to you simply because you wish for them. They're earned through struggle, through persistence, through proving that you're willing to endure what others are not. That's why every obstacle is actually a gift. It's shaping you into the person capable of sustaining the dream. You're chasing. The reason so many people give up is because they misinterpret resistance. They think that when things get hard, it means they're on the wrong path. They assume that difficulty is a sign they should turn back. But in reality, difficulty is the clearest sign you're moving in the right direction. If you set a goal and encounter no resistance, it means that goal wasn't big enough. Growth only happens when you push past what's comfortable, when you demand more of yourself than what you've already proven you can handle. Obstacles don't appear to discourage you, they appear to refine you. They force you to dig deeper, to become more creative, to find strength and resilience you didn't know you had. Without them, there would be no growth, no expansion, no transformation. When you hit a wall, you're given a choice. Stop and accept defeat, or find a way to climb, dig, break, or go around it. And it's in those moments that you reveal to yourself who you really are. Anyone can stay motivated when everything is smooth, but it's what you do when the storm hits that defines you. Do you shrink back into comfort, or do you rise with determination? Do you let fear dictate your actions, or do you decide that no amount of pain, no amount of rejection, no amount of failure is going to stop you from moving forward? That decision is everything. Because if you keep moving when it hurts, when it's inconvenient, when it feels impossible, you send a message to life that you are unshakable, and life responds to that kind of persistence. Every obstacle is also an opportunity to develop mastery. Think of the greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, creators, or leaders. Their strength didn't come from avoiding hardship. It came from facing it repeatedly until what once broke them became easy. Each obstacle they overcame became a building block in their foundation, making them stronger, wiser, more capable. This is why obstacles are essential. They're the training ground that prepares you for the weight of the success you're chasing. Without them, you wouldn't have the capacity to handle the very life you're asking for. That's why when you encounter something that feels overwhelming, you should recognize it for what it is. Proof that you're growing into a higher version of yourself. The question, how bad do you want it, is not rhetorical. It's the filter that life uses to determine who gets rewarded. If your desire is casual, if it's something you only want when it's convenient, the first obstacle will stop you. But if your desire is a must, if it's burning inside of you with an intensity that nothing can put out, then no amount of resistance will stop you from continuing. That's why the people who achieve extraordinary results aren't necessarily the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. They're the hungriest. They're the ones who see obstacles and say, "Good. This is my chance to prove how much I want it." They welcome the resistance because they know it's carving them into someone unstoppable, so the next time you hit a setback, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask instead, "How bad do I want this?" Let the obstacle sharpen you, not weaken you. Let it fuel your hunger instead of killing your spirit. Understand that the size of your dream will always match the size of the challenges you'll face along the way. And if you can keep going no matter what, if you can answer every obstacle with more persistence, more creativity, and more determination, you'll realize that the very barriers that seemed designed to break you were actually there to reveal just how unstoppable you really are. Extraordinary lives are never built on talent alone. They're built on a foundation of persistence, resilience, and an unshakable refusal to settle. When you look at the people who achieve greatness, who live lives that others admire, it's easy to assume they were born with something special, more intelligence, more resources, more luck. But the truth is far more empowering. What separates them is not what they were given, but what they refused to give up on. They weren't willing to accept mediocrity as their destiny. They weren't willing to let rejection define them or failure stop them. They chose to keep going when others walked away, and that decision made all the difference. Persistence is the muscle that keeps you moving forward when progress feels slow, when results don't show up as quickly as you hoped. Most people quit not because they can't achieve their goals, but because they stop too soon. They expect immediate results, and when they don't get them, they convince themselves it isn't working. But those who achieve extraordinary outcomes know that persistence is the bridge between intention and reality. Every step, even the ones that feel small and insignificant, adds up. Every action compounds, creating momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Persistence is about trusting that even when you can't see the results yet, they're coming. As long as you refuse to quit, resilience is what allows you to take the hits that life inevitably throws and still keep standing. Everyone faces setbacks, disappointments, and failures. No one is immune to them. The difference is in how you respond. Most people see failure as proof that they should give up. Resilient people see failure as feedback, as information, as a necessary step on the path. They don't personalize setbacks or use them as excuses. They absorb the lesson, adjust, and move forward stronger than before. Resilience is the ability to bend without breaking, to endure without losing faith, to adapt without losing sight of the vision. Without resilience, persistence can't survive because the road to extraordinary is never a straight line. It's filled with twists, detours, and storms you have to weather. The refusal to settle is the final ingredient, and it's the one that truly sets extraordinary people apart. Settling is seductive because it offers comfort. It tells you that where you are is good enough, that you don't need to push harder, that you should be satisfied with less than what you truly want. But settling robs you of your potential. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of mediocrity, living a life that feels safe but unfulfilling. The people who create extraordinary lives are the ones who look at good enough and say, "This is not my standard." They demand more of themselves, not because they are ungrateful, but because they know they are capable of more. They refuse to trade comfort for purpose, and that refusal fuels everything they do. When you combine persistence, resilience, and refusal to settle, you create an unstoppable force. It means you'll keep moving when progress is invisible. It means you'll get back up after every fall, stronger than before. It means you'll never lower your standards just because the journey is hard. And that combination is what builds extraordinary outcomes. It's not luck. It's not timing. It's the consistent choice to keep showing up, keep pushing forward, and keep demanding more from yourself than others would ever expect. Extraordinary lives are not about perfection. They're about relentless progression. They're about falling down 100 times and standing up 101. They're about failing in public, being judged, being doubted, and still refusing to stop. They're about proving to yourself over and over again that you are stronger than the circumstances, that your vision matters more than the setbacks, and that you are unwilling to live a life that doesn't reflect the fullness of your potential. Most people will never taste that kind of life because they let obstacles convince them to settle. But those who persist, who are resilient, who refuse to lower their standards, they become unstoppable. They build lives that others admire from a distance, wondering what their secret is, never realizing that the secret was simple. They just never stopped moving forward. You can create the wealth, the health, the love, and the freedom you desire if you're willing to pay the price of effort and courage. Nothing worth having comes without a cost, and that cost is rarely financial. It's the daily discipline, the inner strength, and the willingness to take risks when comfort would be easier. Most people dream of living a better life, but they stop short of committing to the effort required. They want the results without the sacrifice, the reward without the work, the destination without the journey, but life doesn't work that way. The universe rewards those who show up fully, those who are willing to trade excuses for action, fear for bravery, and hesitation for relentless pursuit. Wealth isn't only about money. It's about abundance in every form. Financial success comes to those who dedicate themselves to mastery, who put in the hours to sharpen their skills, who push past rejection and setbacks in pursuit of excellence. But true wealth is also about time, freedom, and the ability to live on your own terms. Creating that requires courage. The courage to step outside of the security of a paycheck. The courage to invest in yourself when others doubt you. The courage to face uncertainty and keep moving forward. Every act of courage compounds into confidence, and confidence is the currency that unlocks opportunity. Health is the foundation of everything. Yet it's the area most people neglect until it's too late. To create the energy, vitality, and strength you want, you have to be willing to pay the price of discipline. It means choosing the foods that fuel you instead of the ones that comfort you. It means moving your body even on the days you don't feel like it. It means trading short-term pleasure for long-term vitality. Effort in this area may feel inconvenient, but the payoff is a body that supports your dreams instead of holding them back. Courage comes into play here as well. The courage to confront your own habits, to admit where you've been settling, and to demand more of yourself. When you take ownership of your health, you unlock energy that carries into every other area of your life. Love is no different. Deep, fulfilling relationships don't just happen. They're created through consistent effort, vulnerability, and courage. It takes effort to show up fully for the people you care about, to listen, to give, to nurture the connection. It takes courage to open your heart, to risk rejection, to be honest about what you feel and what you need. Most people settle for surface-level relationships because they're too afraid to go deeper, but those who are willing to pay the price discover love that transforms them. The relationships that truly fulfill you are the ones where you've invested energy, where you've had the courage to fight for them, to grow within them, and to show up authentically no matter what. Freedom is the ultimate prize, but it's also the most demanding. To create freedom, financial freedom, emotional freedom, time freedom, you must be willing to make choices that others won't. It requires effort in the form of long nights building something when everyone else is relaxing. It requires courage to take risks that might not pay off immediately. It requires you to let go of approval from others, to trust your own path, and to stand firm in your vision even when the world doubts you. Freedom comes at the cost of comfort, but the trade is always worth it because nothing compares to waking up each day knowing you own your time, your choices, and your destiny. The beautiful part of all this is that the price isn't something outside of your reach. It's not reserved for the lucky or the privileged. The price is simply effort and courage, and both are choices. Every day you choose whether to put in the work or make an excuse. You choose whether to act bravely or let fear control you. You choose whether to settle for less or push for more. And those small choices, stacked day after day, create the life you either desire or regret. If you're willing to consistently pay the price, if you're willing to put in the effort when it's hard, to act with courage when it's scary, you can have the wealth, the health, the love, and the freedom you've always imagined. Life doesn't withhold these things. It simply waits to see who's willing to rise up and claim them.